I won't take up too much time on this. Everybody knows the situation that happened about a week ago with CM Punk and AEW star Jack Perry, which is actually one of several events involving Mr. CM Punk or Mr. Phil Brooks. Now, personally, I never wanted AEW to hire him in the first place, him meaning CM Punk, because even though he is a star attraction and everything, to me, his history suggests way too much trouble. And a guy who, while talented in the ring and on the mic, is not the best person to deal with behind the scenes. And my friend and part of Club Atlantis, Prince GMO, has already put out a video showing the telling what he thinks on it. I'm going to take the opposing view. Now, before I get into this, by no means am I condoning the alleged actions of Jack Perry or the Young Bucks and to a lesser extent Kenny Omega. By no means. Personally, I think action should have been taken against them. And I've always personally had a problem with wrestling talent holding EVP positions and positions like that when they're still active wrestlers, or even wrestlers having creative control over their characters, because historically speaking, it is always shown it never comes out well and it never turns out well. But that out of the way, here are a few opinions I have on CM Punk. Number one, AEW shouldn't have never hired him to begin with because of his track record. Even though with WWE, there were some foul things WWE did as well, which you can look up that history on your own. I don't need to go into that. Number two, at the media scrum, CM Punk, I don't care what your problems are with management or with certain talent, you don't do what you did and embarrass your boss in front of the world. In front of the world. I don't care. That's not something I condone. And honestly, this is where he made his first mistake. Once he saw, let's say what he was saying, it was true. Once he saw nothing was going to be done behind the scenes, he probably should have got with his lawyer, took a good look at his contract, and probably start negotiating then on how to get out of it. Because I know from my own life history with jobs, once you report something and nothing is done about it to certain people, and you see that certain people are going to be favored above you and that they're probably going to take a stance against you, it's probably time to get out of there. CM Punk is a fighter by mentality, and that's great for when you're inside the ring and when you're working. That's not so good when you're trying to do business. And sometimes it's better to fall back and cut your losses. His second mistake was even coming back after the incident with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, and also involved CM Punk's friend Ace Steel. That was his second mistake. He probably never should have came back after that. Again, he should have looked at his contract and negotiated a way out of it and said toodles. When he did come back, I personally think AEW gave him a little too much leeway, but that's just my own personal opinion. But at that point, he had to know he had a target on his back. He had to know that. And then the incident All In. My question to this, and this is somewhat defending CM Punk, my question on this, when Jack Perry insisted on doing that stunt with real glass, which is real stupid, by the way. Why couldn't the officials make Jack Perry? At the end of the day, Jack Perry is still an employee. He works for you. You getting a guy like CM Punk, who is known to be a hothead, you're going to get him to do that? When you officials should have pulled rank on Jack Perry? Why are you going to get one of the other talent to do it? I get the whole, maybe a veteran wrestler talking to these young wrestlers, but Guys like the Young Bucks and Jack Perry have made it clear on many occasions they want to do things their way. They're not going to listen to anybody. They have made that clear on many occasions with their behavior. So, no, I blame management more for what happened at All In than I do Punk in a way, because they should have took charge here. It should not have been CM Punk's job. Nevertheless, when Punk said, "Oh, I'll go talk to him," that was his third mistake. That was his third mistake. He should have said, "No, why can't y'all do it?" Is what he should have did. Or let's say Jack Perry sought him out just to deliberately say that to him. Punk should have stood his ground, but he also should not have even responded to him. And again, at that point, if I would have put up with all that, and then at that point that happened, I'd have been like, let's see about getting up out of here. Also with some money intact. Maybe not my full contract, but maybe with some of the money. Because honestly, there are many ways, and I just named a few of them, but there are many ways this situation could have been averted to where CM Punk is fired and Jack Perry is indefinitely suspended. They're saying indefinitely suspended, but I doubt he'll be fired. Chances are they're going to let him, probably going to let him come back eventually. Probably not even less than a month from now. And he'll be back on rolling like nothing happened. So, to me, this was a type of thing where egos got involved. And people might say, well, CM Punk has a history of doing business. Yeah, CM Punk also has a history of shooting his mouth off when he shouldn't. It followed him in ROH. It followed him in the early days of TNA. It followed him in the WWE. And it followed him here. So the way I look at it is there's blame to go around, and CM Punk deserves some of the blame. Now, should he get the entire blame? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he does get some of the blame. Ultimately, you know who the blame really goes on? Tony Khan. At the end of the day, ultimately the blame goes on him because number one, it's his company, and number two, he should be more in charge of his wrestlers. Or if he don't want to do it, he should hire somebody that he know has no problem enforcing the rules. Like back in the day, Bill Watts would have had no problem not only putting Punk, but probably the Young Bucks and Jack Perry, especially Jack Perry, in his place. And a lot of cats you could name over the years that were backstage officials had no problem putting the boys in their place. If Tony Khan don't want to do it, he needs to hire a heavy to do it. But at some point, order has to be established in AEW, because this is looking dangerously a lot like WCW. Even ECW, for all the chaos on screen, you've never heard of this much chaos behind the scenes, at least not as far as I know. WWE, say what you want about Vince McMahon, and I have. Vince McMahon would have never let this go on. Triple H wouldn't have never let this go on. I would even dare say even Stephanie wouldn't have let this go on. And we can include the women as well, with all the stories about Britt Baker and her little sorority behind the scenes, allegedly. But that's my 2 cents on this situation. What y'all think? Leave your comments down below if you like the stuff that I do. Subscribe. I'm out.